Okay, well, I'd like to welcome everybody to our brown bag on the Brazos. It's high noon. I hope wherever you are, you're getting rain. We are here in Waco, and that's a great thing for this time of year. We've got a very interesting agenda for you today. As with all of our brown bags, we're going to hold very tight to a 1 hour timeline so you can get back to work or get back to whatever it is you were doing. Hence the brown bag during lunch. So we've got a lot to talk about today, so we'll go ahead and get started. Judy, if you could go to the next slide. Here's kind of what our agenda looks like today. We're going to talk about lake recreation and safety since it is the season, and we've got a wonderful guy, Kyle Lewis. He's a project manager, program coordinator up at Lake Granbury. He's also been a lake ranger law enforcement officer for us in the past. We're going to talk a little bit about our water supply update and what's going on around the basin in the state of Texas as far as drought goes and the recent rainfalls and how they've impacted our reservoirs. And then we will obviously take questions and answers. I'm going to start briefly with giving you a little bit of an overview about our recent board meetings. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the stuff that our board has approved in the last few weeks too. So Judy, if you want to go to the next slide. Again, if you have any questions anytime during the presentation, we'll answer as many as we can at the end. Or if we don't get around to them, we will get you an answer to your question. To ask a question, click on the question bubble in the upper right-hand corner of your screen and ask a question, and you can type in your question. We'll answer as many as we can till 1, and then also if we don't get to your question or if you want to ask one offline, feel free to do so at information@brazos.org. Next, Judy. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about our recent board activities. We've been really busy. Our board meets every other month. Our board members are appointed by the governor, and they're a policy board, and again, they meet every other month to go through Brazos River Authority business and give us the approvals that we need to move projects forward. Our last meeting was in May. We had a meeting in a special call board meeting in April. We had a board meeting in March, so it seems like our board spent a lot of time here in Waco. At our April special call board meeting, the board approved a project called Allen's Creek. They approved a settlement agreement between the BRA and the city of Houston, which provided full ownership of the Allen's Creek project to the Brazos River Authority so that we can begin the long and arduous process of trying to achieve a 404 federal permit to build the reservoir. There's a lot of information about Allen's Creek on our webpage, www.brazos.org. You can go read about that project. If you have, again, if you have questions about some of the other stuff that I'm not going to discuss that's on our board meetings, you can go to the page that looks like what you're seeing now at brazos.org, and you can actually go through each of the individual board agenda items and watch video and listen to see the PowerPoints. Next slide, Judy. Okay, we'll come back to that. So at our May 23rd meeting, our board was very busy. We brought to our board of directors for our final approval our revised regulations for the properties and the lakes that we own, our authority lakes and associated lands. You can go to the webpage and see both the public comment and the new revised rules. So our group is working hard to get those out so the public can see the final rules and regulations that were passed by our board. We also spent a significant amount of time walking our board through the latest changes to our strategic plan. You can view our strategic plan online also. We talked a little bit about our 2023 proposed annual operating budget, which we will now be presenting to our customers in the weeks to come. At our annual customer meetings, we have 3 of those, an upper basin, a central basin, and a lower basin. And again, not to sound like a broken record, but you can learn about those online. We're proposing a water rate next year of $88 an acre foot. And that's really in line with what our CFO has shown for the last few years about what our projections would be for our new water rates. And then last but not least, and you might find this interesting to go back and watch on our board meeting, we gave our board a pretty in-depth presentation about what it means to get a 404 permit for the Allens Creek Reservoir. And we had a permit specialist, our engineer from Stantec, Bill Swanson, walk through a lot of very in-depth information about the challenges and why it takes so long and why it costs so much in all of the different aspects of that permitting, whether it be artifacts or environmental issues, endangered species, cemetery issues, flood issues. There'll be a lot of flood evaluations that go into looking at how Allens Creek can be built. So again, on the webpage, there's a detailed discussion and slideshow about kind of a 404 permitting 101, if you will. So anyway, I hope you're interested in that and can go and look and read more about our board meetings. Our next board meeting will be in July, the last Monday of July. And then we will follow that up in August with another brown bag like we're having now. So again, thanks for joining us. Judy, let's go to the next slide and next presenter. Kyle Lewis is going to spend a little bit of time with you and talk about our reservoirs and opportunities and rules and regulations and kind of walk you through life on the reservoir. So Kyle, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, sir. How are you today? I get to the right program here. I've had it just pull up shortly. There we go. All right, am I up, sir?
I think you shared the wrong screen, sir.
Oops. Hang on, let me get out of here. And we just went through all this stuff a while ago. Sorry about that. Are we up now?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry about that. I'm learning all this new fancy stuff. Thank you, Mr. Collinsworth. I appreciate the opportunity to be here today. Like I say, I'm Kyle Lewis. I'm at Lake Granbury. I started as a lake ranger way long time ago. I've started 19 years. I'm in my 19th year with the authority and 33 years of law enforcement total. So, like I say, being with the authority has been kind of interesting with my other law enforcement experience. I was at Palapena Sheriff's Office for a while, and I actually got to spend some time working at Possum Kingdom Lake. So that kind of stroked the interest of actually working for the authority and what they do as far as lake safety and water safety and things like that. So what we want to cover today is talk about some different things about on the water. Everybody likes to come out to the lakes. Boating is one of our main deals for the lakes as far as recreation. Some of the keys about boating, we tell everybody that is, life jackets. Life jackets like the seatbelt in your car. That should be the first thing you put on. It's required for children under 13 years of age. There must be one that's appropriate to their size to make sure that they're all safe and all that on the water. Like I say, when you're on the water at night, a lot of people like boating right at sunset or right at sunrise. Fishermen are big on the early morning boating and stuff like that. So you're required to run your navigation lights from sunset in the evening until sunrise morning if you're out at night. Fire extinguishers are always important to have on a boat. Anytime you have fuel mixed in storage on a vessel, having fire extinguishers on board. Another important tip with that is if you have inboard storage or for fuel, like a fuel tank under the motor, like an inboard outdrive type motor, they'll have a bilge vents on the boat as well. Need to vent your bilge area after you refuel your boat. I've seen several instances where you fill up a boat, you may have a small leak, you may not realize, but when you start your motor, some spark from the start or something like that. We've seen boats explode, boats burn, and it's a very pretty, not a very pretty sight, a very dangerous situation to be a part of. So be sure when you do fuel up your boats, turn your vent pumps on. and make sure all your vapors and fumes are out of there. Always check your boats for leaks and things like that. Went the wrong way. So, personal watercrafts, like I say, on a boat, you're required to have enough life jackets on board. On a jet ski, you have to have your life jacket on at all times. And the kill switch landing for your jet ski must be attached. Back to boating, a new law come out a couple of years ago, Kaylee's law, that now you're required to have your kill switch lanyard attached to your person if you're operating a boat. So it's another safety feature. If you do get ejected from your boat or have an accident, the kill switch lanyard will actually stop the motor and prevent the boat from just going down the lake and running over someone else or you, or like cause somebody else injury and harm. So jet skis cannot be operated at night, period. They must be off the water at sunset. We tell everybody it doesn't mean that you're on the lake, you see the sun go down, I got to go 3 miles, 4 miles up the lake before I get to my dock. You be aware of your surroundings and what time it is, and have them off the water by sunset. And they can't be on the water before sunrise. And jet skis that can't be modified with lights to even be operated at night as well. Boats and jet skis both, you're required to have a boater safety course if you're born on or after September 1st of 1993, or if you're operating a vessel that's 15 horsepower greater, or a sailboat that's 14 feet or longer. So if your kids are out there and all that, if they're going to operate a jet ski, they have to have the boater safety course before they can operate it. And their earliest they can take the boater safety course is 13 years of age. So they must be at least 13 to complete that, take that boater safety course. Another thing that we're very cautious of and watching closely on our lakes right now is the zebra mussels and all types of invasive species, primarily the zebra mussels, and there's other new mussels now that are coming out that they're concerned with. It is so easy now. Equipment is so good these days. Trailers are so much better. Vehicles or trucks are so much better pulling boats. It's really easy to go from fishing this lake or boating on this lake one day, drive 60, 70, 90 miles to another lake, fishing the next day. And it is a state law now. It is illegal to put your boat on the water if you haven't either clean, drained, or dried your boat. Is to dry the boat, you must, or if you're not going to dry your boat for more than 10 days, then need to power wash it with high pressure soap and water, at least 140 degree water. And not just the outside of the boat. I mean, your bilge areas, your live wells, your motors, even your trailers. I mean, there's some places on your trailers that are designed to let water come in when you're unloading your boat. You make sure all those areas are dried and power washed as well. But keep them clean and keep them dry. It is a violation if you get caught transporting zebra mussels. It's like a Class C misdemeanor offense, but it gets enhanced if you get caught a second time. So we want to protect our waters, and I know boaters and fishermen and everyone want to make sure that they're keeping these waters clean, but we just want you to remember that it is a requirement in state law to have your vessel clean, drained, and dried before you go to each lake. Slow, no wake. Our lakes are getting so crowded right now with all the new growth in our area, and I know other lakes as well, that the boats are getting bigger and new things are coming out. But what the slow no wake product is Texas Water Safety Act states it's illegal to operate a vessel so as to cause a hazardous wake or wash. So anytime you're above an idle speed, you're creating a wake. And our new laws now, you're required on Brazos River Authority lakes, we require everyone that's just been approved to be at least 100 feet from any dock structure, shoreline, before you get above a headway speed. And like I say, our public information office, Judy and her team come up with a great campaign to help watch your wake. We're doing public service. They're doing social media posts and getting the word out about things to make people aware that your wake can cause damage to your other people's property, other people's boats and marinas, things like that. And so we got no wake zones out. We talk about those areas. Wake boats, I mean, they're a lot of fun. I see a lot of people always at wake boating. Kind of a new craze the last few years has been wake surfing. Everybody needs time to enjoy the lake. That's kind of a deal. Want y'all, everybody to enjoy it. Everybody has a right to be on the lake. We just want everybody to be sure that you're aware of your surroundings, where you're at, what your swells are causing as far as potential damage to someone else's property, or even smaller vessels. You get too close to some of those, you might actually capsize some of those and get somebody in some harm's way. So, say part of the campaign is we have our Watch Your Wake banners out. We put signs at our boat ramps. Our lake rangers throughout the lakes are actually coming in, and we're talking to more boaters about wake zones and wake violations, and trying to educate folks to come out and enjoy it, but be careful where you're at and what you're doing on the lakes. Another good bit of information we have is the Know Before You Go flyer. There's a little link there on the top where you can actually click this. This is a little card that you can print out. We give them out to some of our lakes, to our marinas around the lakes. It's got full of all kind of just their basic information before you go on the lake, some of the things that you kind of need to know about. Like I said, the top part of that, it talks about our buoys. It talks about, I mean, what different buoys you see on these lakes, our centerline marker buoys, the stripe buoys, hazard buoys. And so other information on here is talks about idle speed. If you're above idle speed within 100 foot of someone else, you need to make sure at least 100 feet away before you go above idle speed. Remind you about your boater safety requirements. Always wearing life jackets, and then re-emphasize again the no wake zone at the bottom. So, lake safety, when you're on the lakes, know the lake. I mean, that's kind of a key, and not necessarily for Brazos Lake, but any lake you go to. Know the lake. Kind of do some studying on these lakes. This is an area here that generally would be underwater, and you wouldn't see these stumps until a lake level drops. So. We encourage people to look at some of the lakes, get to know your lake, the things that to kind of key on as far as get a lake map, and to know where some of these areas are at. When you're on these waters, when we get high water events like this, we have a lot of debris. I hope you can see in that top picture. We have debris issues that come through on big water releases, big rain events, and I mean these are rivers that are dammed up, so you're going to get a lot of debris out there. So we may try to put information out to alert people that hey, there's more debris than normal on the lake, to avoid these areas. Try to stay off the lake till it subsides. Same with downstream. A lot of people like kayaking and canoeing. I think they're going to enjoy the swift waters and things. Well, we have people in the past get in trouble with the trying to raft or kayak or shoot in some of these high water conditions, and unfortunately, we have lost some lives in the past, different parts of the river. So know your conditions before you go out. Same way with low levels. I mean, these lakes aren't constant level lakes. They move with water flow. I mean, we're fortunate we've gotten rain a little bit today, so hopefully we'll start getting a little water to keep our levels in good shape. But low levels are just as concerning. You have debris sticking up out of the lake that you may not know about, to kind of get the gist of where you're going. We learned a lot during the 13-14 drought on some areas that we thought were really good areas to go in, and then when the lake drops 6 or 8 foot, you're like, holy cow, that is kind of some very unknown sticks in the area like that. So we tried to clear some of the main navigation channels. We couldn't clear all the lakes just for money purposes and getting around like that, but we did clear some of the heavier traffic areas to make sure that those areas were safe and kind of cleared out. So I say just know your lakes. There's all kind of good sources out there as far as getting lake maps. If you have GPS navigation sonic equipment on your boat, like Garmin or Lowrance depth finders, they got navigation guides, and they have to come out periodically and map lakes to get new readings and things like that. So look at some of those things as well. And when in doubt, I mean, give the lake office a call your local lake office, ask them kind of what some of the conditions are. Our website and social media pages, they do an excellent job as far as putting information out when there are areas of concern or situations that we're concerned about. You can email information at brazos.org to also to get information back through emails and things like that. So like I say, just always ask us and we'll try to give you the best information. I mean, these are changing environments, so we're going to give you the best information we know, but also understand that we can't tell wherever something's going to wash in the area. So it is still up to the voter to be responsible and kind of be cautious out there, but we'll try to give you the best information to our knowledge at the time. Our parks, like I say, we've had a big influx of park users the last few years. COVID brought a lot of people out to the parks, and they've seen how neat the parks are and how great our locations are. So our crowds are getting more and more large every year, seems like. We encourage people to come out and enjoy our parks. Just remember that when you're in the parks, to be aware of, we have certain rules and requirements that we want you to come out and enjoy your stay. Camping, or we have overnight camping. Our campsites are all primitive campsites. We do not have RV hookups, things like that. But if you have a camper, you can bring a camper. You're required to make sure you're self-contained. Can't stay in a park more than 10 days in a 30-day period. We want everybody to have time to enjoy the parks. Pets are welcome. We welcome your pets, but they just make sure that they're on a leash to keep them safe from roaming around and getting somebody else's campsite or something like that. So public safety, like I say, our parks as well. We don't, for the guests, we don't allow any glass bottles in our parks. There's you can see the picture there. Our park gets so crowded, and any kind of glass gets broken on the ground, little bare feet or anybody's bare feet, you steps on it, and then you got somebody getting hurt, and that takes away a lot of fun from the lake and have the doctor catch. So we watch for glass bottles. Fireworks the same way. We got community fireworks shows during the holidays on different parts of the lake. So enjoy your community shows and leave your fireworks at home. The risk of having fireworks going off in the park, these tents are nylon, a lot of them, and Roman candle or some kind of a sparkler in the right situation, if someone's not aware and gets a tent on fire, we've got a real tragedy in our hands. So we encourage everybody to not bring fireworks to the parks. Our site security, one thing our rangers do take a lot of awareness into is site safety. There are areas at each lake, at each dam that are restricted areas that you're not allowed to be inside of. This is for as much your safety as it is safety for the structure itself. Downstream of the lakes, the same way a lot of people like fishing below the dams, and that's fine. You just be aware of water currents, be aware of where you're at as far as remaining far enough downstream. There are signs that mark the restricted areas. Possum Kingdom Lake, you can see in the bottom picture, it has a cable across and signage as well that shows people where they can't be any closer to the main structure itself. So like I said, you're welcome to fish below the dams, but just be sure you're aware of the safety sites and the restricted areas, because I mean, we're watching all the time. It's one of our more visual areas. Hunting on Brazos River Authority lakes, we only allow waterfowl hunting in designated locations on our reservoirs. I know Granbury for a fact we're getting so much more crowded with homes and all around the lake that we have to make sure that each blind will mark the location for a blind, and it's up to the individual hunter to put their what kind of blind they want. We mark the location you have to be, and they put their own blind up. We make sure that they're far enough away from any houses or boat traffic areas to avoid anything like that, any kind of hazards. We don't allow any kind of firearms being discharged across the waters, just for safety. You know, bullet will skip and ricochet over water, and the risk of harming someone is too great to have that. So, bow fishing, we do allow bow fishing on the lakes. We encourage everybody to be aware of your surroundings when you're bow fishing, because a lot of that's done at night. regulation now. You have to be 100 feet from any dock or boat ramp or residence where you're boat fishing at night. Just, I mean, enjoy it. Just be cautious. Be respectful for your neighbors. The generators, the bright lights, sweeping around in the water late at night is generates a lot of cost for our lake. We already had one this week. Some folks out enjoying boat fishing. They got too close to some houses, so the bright lights. So we just want to encourage you to be respectful of that. There's a lot of areas of open lake that's great for boat fishing. That's not around houses that you can enjoy, not have to be right in somebody's backyard. So, like I say, just want to thank everybody for their time. Sorry for the technical difficulties there at the beginning of it. Like I say, enjoy our lakes, respect our lakes, and others visiting the lakes, and try to leave our parks maybe better than you found it, and come back and see us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Kyle. I have two real quick questions for you. I'm
Yes,
going to break the
yes,
rules
sir.
and kind of take these out of order.
Okay.
Talking just very briefly about how do you get approval to duck hunt on BRA reservoirs?
Yes, sir. Yeah. The duck hunt on reservoir, we have a lottery type drawing every year toward the end of August. What we require hunters to come in and bring their current, the upcoming year hunting license with their migratory waterfowl stamps, and we'll have a lottery system. We have a sign in. You'll come in, you'll sign in to your name. We'll check your license, make sure your license are valid for the upcoming year. And then it's pretty much a first come, first serve. We'll put everybody's name on a list. We'll put numbers in a bucket. We'll have from 50 to 80 at times at Granbury. We'll pull your number. We looked on the list. We pull a number. We put on the list. Okay, number 27 is John Smith. So we call Mr. Smith back. He gets his first choice of one of the 15 locations that we have marked on the lake to hunt. So that's how we do that. I believe that's how the lakes are doing it as well. So it's a lottery type system.
Very good. And just one last question for you to drive this point home. We've talked a lot about reaching out and calling either the BRA Lake Office or info@brazos.org. If you find yourself on the reservoir and you have an emergency, who do you need to call?
If you have a true emergency, if it is a boat accident or someone's in trouble, you do call 911. The sheriff's office at Hood County, the sheriff's office at Palapena County, and honestly, I'm sorry, I don't know Limestone if they go through Robertson or Freestone County, but they're the main dispatch agencies for the lake rangers. If you have a minor emergency, if you need a tow or you're broke down or something like that, you can call the non-emergency numbers. If it's during the day, 8 to 5, you can call the lake office, and we'll refer you to a service that helps tow boats on the lakes or help repair boats if you're broke down or something. So, but for a true emergency, it is 911, and the dispatch will send the appropriate people to the problem.
Thank you, Kyle, very much. Appreciate that. A lot of good information there. At this point, we're going to transition into a discussion on our water reservoirs and our water supply. You're probably used to seeing our executive manager, Aaron Abel. He's the executive manager of our water services department. And he is in tune with what's going on with the rainfall and our lake levels and the drought. So Aaron, why don't you update everybody on our status?
All right. I think everybody should be able to see the PowerPoint slide. So good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. And as David mentioned, in this update, we're going to touch on the current status of the BRA water supply system and how the recent rainfall compares to what we normally receive over the watershed, over the last 6 months or so. We'll also talk about how and why we have downstream water supply releases and why they're needed, during drier times. And we'll also discuss projections of the system in the near term and relay what we're seeing concerning the longer term projections and as far as temperature and rainfall and how that may impact, conditions as we move forward into the summer. So this graphic, we update weekly every Wednesday, and this is something that we've shown in the past, but it shows the current available storage and reservoir drawdown of the 11 reservoirs within the BRA water supply systems. And this is valid as of yesterday, June 1st. And so The BRA owns and operates 3 water supply reservoirs, 2 that are located along the main stem of the upper Brazos, that's Possum Kingdom, and Lake Granbury, and then Lake Limestone located along the upper Navasota River. The 8 other reservoirs within the system are owned and operated by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and BRA holds water rights in each of the 11 reservoirs within the system to store and use the water held within the system. And we also have storage contracts with the Corps of Engineers that allows us to store and use the water in the conservation spaces of the 8 multi-purpose reservoirs that the Corps owns and operates. So we contribute annually toward the operation and maintenance of the 8 core reservoirs, and we provided capital as far as the initial construction of those reservoirs. And they are multi-purpose reservoirs for flood control and water supply. And in the case of Lake Whitney, there's flood control, water supply, and hydropower generation. The upper Brazos is on the far left of this graphic, and starting with Possum Kingdom. And as you move to the right, you're moving downstream toward the Gulf Coast. And as mentioned previously, the height of these bars represent the total storage capacity of the reservoirs under the conservation pool. So the flood pools are not included in those. The blue areas under the bars represent the actual water stored in the reservoirs, and then the white represent the empty storage. So these are comparable to the actual sizes and volumes of the reservoirs at full capacity. And the table in the upper right-hand corner of the graphic provides values that correlate with each reservoir. So you have the percent full and the capacity as of June 1st, and then the drawdown relative to the full elevation. So overall, the BRA water supply system is in good shape heading into the highest demand months. We're moving into summer, and we all know what's going to happen in Texas as far as summer. It's going to be hot and dry, but overall the system is at 92% full, and we're storing over 1.77 million acre feet of water. So reservoir drawdown values are generally around 4.5 feet or less, with the exception of Lake Georgetown, which is about 8.8 feet below full. And Georgetown is our smallest reservoir within the system. It's about 72% full right now, but we transfer water from Stillhouse Hollow to Lake Georgetown through the Williamson County regional raw water line to augment the supply in Lake Georgetown, which provides water to the cities of Georgetown, Round Rock, and Brushy Creek Municipal Utility District. You'll notice that in this graphic, we have a number of the reservoirs highlighted in yellow. That represents Stage 1 Drought Watch, which was implemented in mid-March for those reservoirs. And the initiation of Stage 1 Drought Watch was, as part of our drought contingency plan, was a result of the decline of the Palmer Hydrologic Drought Index, which typically is an early indicator of longer-term hydrologic impacts to drought, so such as reservoir levels, groundwater levels, stream flows, and other variables, which take longer to develop and recover from as we enter into a drought. So the stated goals within the Stage 1 Drought Watch are to raise awareness of the drought situation and achieve a 5% reduction in water use that would have occurred in the absence of drought contingency measures. We'll talk about the recent rainfall, or in some places the lack thereof, in the next couple slides. But overall, as I mentioned, the BRA water supply system as a whole is in good condition as we move towards summer. One of the question marks that I think a lot of folks may have is how the recent rain has benefited conditions across the basin in Texas. So we have 2 graphics today to speak to that topic. One, you'll see here, shows the percent of normal precipitation that's fallen over the last 2 months. So since April 2nd through June 1st, how much rain has fallen relative to what normally falls. And so you'll see a percent of normal precipitation. So the gray areas, or shaded green to blue areas, indicate regions that have either received normal rainfall or above normal rainfall since April 2nd. You'll see the legend to the right from 0 to 600. So that's we don't have any purples on here, but that's a lot of rain above normal rainfall, whereas the grays and greens and blues represent above normal. The tans, the yellows, the tans, and the reds represent below normal rainfall over this period since early April. So areas downstream of Lake Limestone along the Navasota and areas within the upper basin, just upstream of Possum Kingdom in the far upper basin near, and as well as in the far upper basin near the Texas-New Mexico border, have received above normal rainfall since early April. Most of the Brazos and the vast majority of Texas has seen below normal rainfall since early April throughout the spring period. Majority of the basin has received only about half to 3/4 of the rain that typically falls between April and June 1st, and that's the tan shaded areas that you'll see over most of the lower and central and upper parts of the basin. Some areas in the far lower basin and parts of the Little River watershed around up and upstream of Lakes Belton, Stillhouse Hollow, and Georgetown, and as well as upstream of Lake Proctor, have only received between 1/4 and 1/2 of the rain that normally falls between April and June 1st. So you also see that as far as the least amount of rain, which includes the red areas, are areas within the upper basin, west of Abilene, along the Clear Fork of the Brazos, and then areas just south of Lubbock that really have only received, just a fraction of the rain that typically falls since early April. So 10 to 25% of the rain that would have fallen over this period. And bottom line, although some localized areas have received normal to slightly above normal rainfall over the last 2 months, the vast majority, continue to see below normal rainfall. And with drier than normal soils, most of the rainfall that has fallen really doesn't stimulate that much runoff or inflows into the reservoir system. We have maintained, anywhere from 94 to 92% full as a system over the last several months. So we've had enough rain to kind of maintain what we have. But, we have seen, declining stream flows. If we look at the same graphic, but extending the period back to December, you'll kind of see some of the longer term trends. So with the previous map, the grays and the greens and the blues represent areas that have received either normal or slightly above normal precipitation over the last roughly 6 months since early December. So, you'll see the portions of the Little River watershed, generally east of Interstate Highway 35 and along the main stem of the Brazos within the Central Basin, and then immediately downstream of Lake Limestone, have received near normal or slightly above normal rainfall since December. And a lot of that has occurred over the last couple of months. Areas along and upstream of and west of Interstate Highway 35 have, really only received about 1/4 to 1/2 of the precipitation that normally falls between early December and 1st of June. So that really, it equates to, rainfall deficits on the order of 8 to 12 inches of less rain that occurred over this period. And so these longer term rainfall deficits, we're seeing a lot of very dry soils in this area. And so even when we do have rainfall, as I mentioned, we're not seeing the runoff that kind of stimulates the increase in stream flow over the recent period. So, you'll see that the areas of below normal precipitation since early December correlate well with the U.S. drought monitor that we'll talk about in the next slide. So, this is the drought monitor that we show periodically during these brown bag water supply updates, and we have the water supply system status added over top of this. So each colored circle indicates the percent full of each of the reservoirs within the system, and the color-coded legend for the reservoirs is in the upper right of this graphic. So, this does represent the conditions as of today, which doesn't include the rain that we have and that's currently falling in parts of the basin. So you can see only areas that are drought-free include those areas that I mentioned before that had above normal rainfall. So downstream of the reservoirs within the Little River system, and then downstream of Lake Limestone along the lower Navasota. And these are areas that have received normal to slightly above normal rainfall over the last couple of months. And then the most extreme drought conditions are along the region of the basin with the highest rainfall deficits that we mentioned in the previous slide. So the swath of exceptional and extreme drought conditions, which has contracted a little bit from the recent rainfall, are generally areas upstream of Lakes Georgetown, Stillhouse Hollow, and Belton, and those are categorized in exceptional drought conditions based on the U.S. Monitor. Recent rains in the area of the Little River watershed has helped, some of the expansion of the drought conditions in this part of the basin. So that is some good news. Areas around and upstream of Lake Proctor in Comanche County, as well in that part of the watershed, and over to Lake Granbury, to Whitney and Aquila are in extreme drought conditions, mainly related to agricultural impacts, but we are seeing some declining stream flow levels we'll talk about in a little bit later. Recent rains over the last couple months have shown improvements around and just upstream of Possum Kingdom area in the upper basin. In the area encompassing the exceptional drought category saw a 50% reduction within the Brazos Basin over the last 7 to 10 days. And I mentioned that's mainly in the Little River watershed that we picked up some rain in the last couple of weeks. So overall, we have 93% of the basin is in some form of drought category. And as we mentioned, decreased stream flow as an impact of the drought conditions. Now we're going to explain a little bit about what that means as far as water supply operations. This is a graphic that represents the top 10 BRA water customers based on the total volume of water under their long-term contracts. And so you see the color of the circle denotes the type of use. So the blue is municipal customers, the red is industrial, and then the green is irrigation. And these top 10 customers account for slightly over 71% of the all contracted water under the long-term contract. So many of these entities divert raw water lakeside, directly from the reservoirs, but some of our larger customers located along the lower basin maintain pump stations along the main stem of the Brazos in Fort Bend and Brazoria counties. And those include NRG, Gulf Coast Water Authority, and Dow Chemical, and they divert directly from the main stem. And they maintain senior water rights from Texas Commission on Environmental Quality that allows the diversion and use of water from the Brazos River. The surface water that flows down the reservoirs and tributaries and that's stored in the reservoirs is owned by the state, and it's held in trust for the citizens of the state. So Texas Commission on Environmental Quality grants the right to use water to different people, and such as farmers and ranchers and cities, river authorities, industries, and other public and private interests. And these rights are known as water rights, and they provide the legal right to use the water for beneficial purposes, such as municipal, agriculture, and industrial, the types of use that you see here. And the vast majority of the time, the flows along the main stem of the Brazos are sufficient for our large lower basin customers to divert water under their senior TCQ water rights without the need of additional water from other sources. But when the natural flow of the river declines, the physical water level in the river drops to a point where those customers are unable to divert the amount of water that they need to satisfy their demands. And these demands that we're talking about in lower basin include the second largest conventional power station in the U.S. Dow's Freeport Industrial Complex is the largest integrated chemical manufacturing facility in the Western Hemisphere, and there's countless municipalities, industries, and agricultural irrigation operations in Fort Bend, Brazoria, and Galveston counties that depend on water from the Brazos. So NRG, Gulf Coast Water Authority, and Dow Chemical also maintain water supply contracts with BRA to supplement their water rights during drier times. And so when stream flows decline and water is needed to supplement the natural flow of water, BRA will release stored water from the reservoir system in order to ensure those river levels stay high enough that those demands are met and they're sufficient for our customers, and they can continue to divert water without water supply shortages and impacting their operations. So the BRA water supply system was developed to do this. We capture water during times of plenty or wetter times and periods for use in periods of drier times like we're heading into now. So how and when do we initiate releases for our lower basin customers? One of the things we do is we utilize stream flow measurements collected by the USGS, United States Geological Survey. We coordinate closely with our downstream customers on the demands and the diversions that is occurring in the lower basin, and then we coordinate with the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality Water Master Program. this graph shows the mean daily discharge measured at the USGS gauge located near Hempstead, just under 200 river miles upstream of the Gulf of Mexico. The y-axis, or the vertical axis on this plot, is the discharge in cubic feet per second. So 1 CFS is about the volume of a small beach ball flowing past a point. And for example, if you have 1,000 CFS, that's almost 2,000 acre feet of water a day through that point. The horizontal axis represents the time in days spanning from about April 1st, 2018 through May 30th, 2022. And what's important about this gauge is it's located upstream of all of our lower basin customer diversions. And it's really used as a key indicator on when water may be needed to supplement the natural flows of the river. So the total diversions from the river in the lower basin sometimes exceed 1,000 CFS. And so that's why 1,000 CFS is important in this point, is when the water level, or the river level and discharge, drops to near 1,000 or lower, we may have to supplement the flows of the river with stored water releases. And the Water Master program is responsible for allocating water adjudicated under water rights, so enforcing the compliance with water rights and monitoring stream flow throughout the basin from Possum Kingdom down to the Gulf. And so water rights are based on the prior appropriation doctrine, which states that the first water rights, known as senior water rights, must be satisfied before later water rights, which are considered junior water rights. And it's also known as first in time, first in right. So these water rights of our large lower basin customers are senior to most of our water rights, BRA's water rights associated with our reservoirs. So when stream flows drop to levels that impact the ability of those downstream senior water right holders, we have to sometimes the Water Master will require what's known as a pass-through release from our reservoirs. And basically that's a release, and it represents the inflows that belong to the downstream senior water right holders, but was impounded by an upstream reservoir at a junior priority date. The yellow columns in this graphic indicate the days that the Brazos Water Master required BRA to initiate the pass-through release to benefit downstream senior water rights in the lower basin. So on May 19th, we did receive word from the Water Master that we were required to pass through some inflows, and that happened a couple of weeks ago. But luckily we were able to discontinue that release out of Lake Somerville a couple of days later. As dry conditions continue and inflows to the reservoir system decline further, releases of stored water under BRA contracts are going to be needed to supplement the flows of the river and satisfy those downstream demands. The blue columns in the graph represent days in which the water supply release was made from our lower basin customer contracts. And the last time we initiated a water supply release from our lower basin customers was in November of 2022. And those are distinct because instead of inflows, this water is stored under contract at these reservoirs and are released at the request of our lower basin customers. Kind of transitioning to projected reservoir storage and what we may look like at the end of July. This is something that we do on a monthly basis at the first of the month, and it represents what could happen under worst case scenarios of minimum inflows and very high evaporations in the system. So these 2-month projections are updated, as I mentioned at the beginning of the month, and we've been providing these projections, usually generally at the first of the month, and can be found at the website at our www.brazos.org under About Us and Water Supply and Drought. So what this shows is if we continue to see dry conditions in the basin the rest of the month and through July, the basin as a whole could drop from about 92% of where we are now to possibly down to 79% at the end of July. And this scenario does include downstream water supply releases for our lower basin customers. And we're not saying to expect these conditions. We're just saying that, if conditions continue to materialize and as far as, minimum inflows and high evaporation, it's likely this would be a worst case scenario. So we're not saying that this is going to happen. It's just saying that this is kind of a worst case scenario of the system in the next couple months. In this scenario, the entire BRA water supply system would be under stage 1 drought watch, with Lake Proctor entering stage 2 drought warning. So under our drought contingency plan, the stated goals of stage 1 are to raise awareness of the developing drought situation and achieve a 5% target reduction of water use. And then also in stage 2, which this would be applied to Proctor if conditions continue to worsen, we're looking for a water use reduction of about 10% of the use that would have occurred in the absence of drought contingency measures. Just from a frame of reference, in early June of 2011, which was the hottest and driest summer on record for Texas and the Brazos, BRA's water supply system was already around 86% full. So we're faring much better than where we were 10 years ago or 11 years ago at this time. Looking at the next 3 months and what the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration and National Weather Service are projecting, we've shown this in the last couple of water supply updates, but this is the seasonal precipitation outlook in the upper left. You'll see the tans represent a below normal probability for precipitation. So, drier than normal conditions over the next 3 months. And then the temperature outlook in the lower left that ranges from now until the end of August are showing above normal temperature outlooks. And then the plot or graphic on the right is just a drought outlook tendency. So combining both the precipitation and the temperature over the next 3 months, the drought tendency is to for the drought to persist and where it is now. In areas that are being impacted, and then areas that aren't impacted by drought right now, drought development is likely. One of the things that to caveat this in the summer, and most will probably have been monitoring the tropical activity off the coast of the Yucatan and the southern Gulf, but that is tropical activity is one source of additional rain chances that we could receive over the summer, not only from the Gulf, but also from the Eastern Pacific. And so right now, the National Hurricane Center, which the season for the Atlantic tropical season runs from June 1st through the end of November, and they are expecting an above average tropical activity over this season. And that's mainly due to the ongoing La Nina conditions that it really is conducive to the formation of tropical cyclones, and also the warmer than average sea surface temperatures, both in the Gulf and in the Atlantic. So, that's one thing to look out for, as we move into the summer for potential rain chances. But as most everybody knows, in July and August in Texas, we know it's going to be hot and we know it's going to be dry. So, but that's what we're here for is to supply water. And, the system is in good shape and as we move into the summer. So, again, thanks for tuning in, and I think we can answer some.
Hey, Aaron, one of the questions that we frequently get is about how to go find that information. And you talked about www.brazos.org, but another question we recently received was about the stream flow readings. So talk just a little bit about BrazosBasinNow.org and how to get there, and that's where you can go see the stream gauge stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mentioned the U.S. Geological Survey. We have a joint funding agreement with USGS to maintain a stream flow network that monitors not only stream flow but also lake levels throughout the basin. We have and we maintain what's called the Brazos Basin Now site, and you can find that at www.brazosbasinnow.org. And what you will see there's a lot of things that go into that site. Obviously, the USGS data. You can find rainfall data. You can find different base maps of if you want to look at aerial photography. And it's a good source of information if you're seeking to, as Kyle mentioned, if you want to know what river flows are, in parts of the basin, you can go to this site and get a lot of good information, from that. and hopefully can get what you need. And if you can't, you can always ask us.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate that. GD Pierce, this next question is for you. If people are interested in the Brazos River Authority coming and giving presentations, tell folks how to get signed up for that, and also kind of give just kind of a snap view of the different types of presentations that we give, or the people that we go talk to. Talk a little bit about that.
Absolutely. We do have a Brazos River Authority Speakers Bureau, and we have speakers from just about any topic that you're interested in: environmental, water supply, water planning, flood planning, any topic in the water category that you're looking for. So in the past, we've supplied speakers all the way from first and second grade. We'll have our lake rangers come out and talk about safety with life jackets. We've also had speakers for local chambers of commerce, Rotary clubs, garden clubs, really any area that you're interested in for drought conditions. We'll be happy to send someone out. All you have to do is send us a request by email at information@brazos.org, and we'll be happy to get back with you and set something up.
Perfect. Thank you, Judy. And then the last question that we have time for today was a question that came in asking about Allen's Creek, and when the reservoir is built, will there be parks and boat ramps? And quite candidly, the answer there is it's just a little bit too early to understand exactly all of the recreational opportunities. We are certainly committed to making recreational opportunities available. As we get into the preliminary design of the reservoir in the next year to 2 years, we'll better understand what those opportunities look like. But again, from our perspective, we want to make recreational opportunities available on new Allen's Creek Reservoir once it's built. So that a good set of questions. Again, we appreciate everybody tuning in and spending lunchtime with us. Don't hesitate to reach out to us if there's something that we can do for you. We hope to see you at our board meeting in July, and hope to see you back on our brown bag in August. So everybody have a great summer, and thanks for tuning in.